Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Tim here with the TMA Connection. It's your local podcast that is focusing on bringing in people that are pretty influential, whether that be in business or real estate or just a little bit of everything. And today we got a special guest, an old student of mine from way back in the day, and I'm really, this has been in the making for a while now. We've been wanting to get you in, had to cancel once, and now we're here and we're doing it. And I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Kevin McShane. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Absolute pleasure. I'm glad to be here. I know it's been a long time, and glad we could lock it in and really sit down and kind of dive into what we do.
Yeah. So Kevin is the owner of a restoration company called Ready Restoration, and he's kind of the man of like dirty jobs. I'm sure you've seen a couple that are out there.
Oh yeah, we'll probably dive into a couple.
Sure,
later on, but yes.
But in addition to kind of helping you promote your business and what you're doing, and you do great work, and you've done great things, and you've got me out of a pinch once or twice before, or our clients. I also kind of like to collaborate with other business owners to just kind of, pick your brain. How are you running your business? What's working for you? What could you be doing better? And so that's kind of why we're talking today.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into it. Kevin McShane gets on the elevator. 30-second introduction. Who are you?
I am Kevin McShane, owner of Ready Restoration. Been in this industry for a long time. I think we're going to dive into restoration as a whole. It's a service that we offer to anyone and everyone, whether it be insurance related or self-pay or, clients of yours. When disaster strikes, we're kind of there to be the guiding light to get you back to normal. Whether that be a fire, a flood, mold, smoke, odor, trauma, whatever that may be. So we're kind of bridging the gap for a lot of people to get through a really bad time in their life.
That's awesome. So what are some of the different types of restoration services that you're providing? When the crap hits the fan, what are some of the things that you're seeing out there that your company specializes in? A
lot of the majority of the stuff that we run into is going to be obviously floods, pipe breaks, flooded basements, sump pumps, things of that nature. We also specialize in fire restoration, multiple different types, whether it be a puff back or your actual house catches on fire.
What's a puff back?
A puff back would be
sounds like something like I might have caught a kid in high school.
Easiest way to explain it is too much oil in the furnace. You light it and
okay.
Soot goes throughout your house through your HVAC system and kind of covers the entirety of your house in soot and odor. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we also do mold remediation, which we do a lot of, for your clients in the real estate world. I think we all know that home inspections have to happen, or majority of the time have to happen, and a lot of times, what pops up on them? Mold, right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy that also knows how to come in there and clean that up, and certify it and make sure that the home is able to sell, and everybody's lives move on. We also do odor treatment, which is another big thing when purchasing and selling homes. Cat urine, things of that nature. Smoking,
cigarettes,
cigarette smoke is another big one. And then we also do trauma. Unfortunately, somebody's got to do it. But we do biohazard cleanup. Whether it be a death or suicide or anything of that nature, we do that stuff as well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about two things here that just popped into my mind. I try to keep an outline, and then I go off script here. So, cigarette smoke.
Yep.
I'm showing a buyer a house. How effective is getting cigarette smoke out of a house?
To actually remove it?
Yeah, to remove it. Like that is a big black eye when somebody's coming in to look at a house. How confident can I be in saying, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we got you covered. I have a person that can get this treated 100%, 90%. Like,
I can get it out 100%.
You can get it out 100%.
Yes. So there's different processes, and it obviously, goes on. How long do they smoke in the house? Is it, hey, I'm sneaking a cigarette on the couch, and it's once every week, or if you're a constant smoker, one of the big indicators is take a picture off the wall, right?
Okay.
Take a picture off the wall. You see a nice
Yep.
painted surface that was the original color of the wall.
Right.
That's kind of gives us our indicator of how much or how long that cigarette smoke's been going on.
Okay.
So a lot of different processes to treat odor. We try to go with the least invasive to work our way up to the most invasive process.
Okay.
Least invasive would just be running something that's called a hydroxyl. So what that machine does is it recreates O3 in very minuscule amounts. It's safe to be around, and O3 is Mother Nature's way of getting rid of bad odor. So that's the first kind of step.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, then we can do the next one, which would be ozone treatment. I actually just had somebody at the gym that had a home, rental home, squatters kind of moved in, cigarette smoke. So I was kind of going through these options actually a couple days ago. So,
Okay, good.
Ozone though is very bad for your olfactory system. Now, you don't want to be around it. It can mess up your sense of smell, your taste, kind of all of that stuff. It also breaks down rubber and vinyl. So I have to be very careful when running ozone that, if your washing machine hose is rubber or vinyl and I run an ozone treatment, next thing you know, you turn your washing machine on and your hose pops. Now we have a water loss.
Now we got two issues.
Yep. So you got to be very careful about that stuff. And then from that point, let's just say if those didn't work, and generally we know what's going to work once we look up, we pull that picture off the wall, right?
Yep.
Then we have to go into almost a very similar aspect of a fire cleaning, where we're using specialized products to basically kind of attack that nicotine. Funny enough, the product's called Tobacco Attack. So using that product to actually physically clean the surfaces in the home. And then what we're really trying to avoid is any kind of demolition or reconstruction.
Sure.
But there has been points where you kind of have to do that, whether it be sealing and painting or removing carpet and pad, porous building materials.
Insulation.
Okay. If it's gotten that far.
Yeah.
I think the worst one I've ever done is, we had to tear out all the drywall in the house. It was just too bad of an odor.
Okay.
Tear out basically any porous building materials that really could hold and absorb that odor. Because once you get down to the semi-porous materials, which is going to be your framing, your sill plates, your plywood, all that good stuff, you can seal that in now. So you can get to the ceiling.
So that would be a worst case scenario. Oh, yeah. On the average, would you say it's pretty basic as to what you're getting into, or is it kind of hard to say?
No, most of the time it's pretty basic. I mean, a lot of you look at it from a generational standpoint, right? My grandfather, big smoker.
Sure.
Grandmother, big smoker.
Yeah.
2 a pack a day smokers.
At some point, we realized that smoking was
bad in the house.
It was bad.
Right. I remember being in high school, you could smoke in at Chili's, right? And now obviously that's banned pretty much everywhere, maybe less a casino or something.
Right.
But, that kind of whole shift has now kind of happened. So you don't see it as bad as it used to be. But, you do still get the occasional smokers that, want to just smoke in their house. And, it's generally not as bad as one would think. So.
Okay. Let's shift to mold. Okay, so again, we've seen plenty of home inspection reports with mold, and mold is like a 4-letter really bad word for some people, and they want to run for the hills.
Yeah.
Is mold, of course, left untreated? Yes, it could certainly be an issue, but is mold as bad as what people think it is?
It can be, right? So we have in our industry standards, our industry standards based off the IICRC S520 for mold remediation. So in there...
Yeah, I learned that in school, by the way.
I did too. So, basically the cutoff is, anything over 10 square feet is really where we start kind of getting concerned.
Okay.
If it's less than 10 square feet, generally we just do a source removal, right? We're focused on that less than 10 square feet area and not so much more of a mold remediation.
Okay.
You're seeing us in Tyvek suits and containment and setting up negative pressure and all this other stuff to remediate that problem. So if we're looking at these home inspection reports and we're seeing that, over 10 square feet is, warranted, we're going, okay, yes, there's a potential health risk here, right? So plenty of information on mold from the CDC and all that stuff, and I read about it all the time.
Yep.
But the one with mold is everybody attributes mold to being black mold, right? Black mold's, oh my God, we got black mold.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So mold can grow in any color.
Stachybotrys. Come on now.
That's right there.
2 points
that
for
is
Tim.
2 points.
Yeah, okay.
Knowing the Stachybotrys.
Stachybotrys.
Yes, Stacky Bodgers is actually the mold that they basically say, hey, this is black mold, right? Because it has proven to have the most adverse health effects.
Sure.
Two other common household molds, Aspergillus penicillium, same stuff they make penicillin out of,
Okay.
and then Cladosporum. So we just don't want those.
Those are the major ones. As you look down through a mold report, there are several scientific names that you can't say. It's just hard to pronounce, and you probably know them all. But there's really only a few that really are of major concern.
Yeah, I mean those are the three main ones that we're really looking for.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that grow, and mold in general is. People will see a spot, in their house, and, mold needs moisture to grow, right? So at some point it's either dormant or it's not. And if there's no moisture, then there's, no active mold growth. So when you go into a home and you really smell that earthy, musty odor, what that is that's actually mold reproducing. It's setting off VOCs,
sure,
organic compounds, and that's what you're smelling. And, if that's why we have all this, lovely technology that, testing for moisture and all that stuff. So our biggest concern is always going to be when it comes to mold is moisture, because mold needs moisture to grow. So that's really on those home inspection reports. When we see that stuff, we want to test. We want to go, okay, home inspector sees, growth in the attic, right? So we want to climb up in the attic and we want to test the moisture content, right? We want to see if it was a previous leak. Or if it's an active leak, because in order to do a mold remediation, we need the source of the water to be stopped.
Right. So it's not just cleaning, but it's also finding the source so it doesn't come back again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And mold in general, I mean, the remediation process, we make it sound a lot simpler than it is. We always just say it's a HEPA sandwich. That's just what we say in our industry. It's HEPA vacuuming, it's wiping with an antimicrobial and a biocide, and it's HEPA vacuum again.
Okay.
Basically, at the end of a mold remediation, we want the job to be dust-free.
Okay.
So that's our goal. Dust-free, we've done our job. And, a lot of times when we get over that 10 square feet, we may bring in a third-party company that is what we call an industrial hygienist. Or whatever they want to label themselves as. But I've always called them industrial hygienists, and they're the ones that actually will come in and test.
Gotcha.
And I do want to make that clear. I don't do any testing. And the reason why I don't do that is that I don't want to conflict the interest, right?
An unbiased opinion.
Yes.
Unbiased results is make sure that you're doing the job that you did worked, and you're not saying, oh yeah, it worked.
If I'm the guy testing and I'm the guy doing the work, I'm like, yeah, we passed.
We passed. Yeah. We did good.
Yeah, we did this with flying colors.
Right. So makes sense to me.
There's stuff. A lot of times when you run into mold, it's and we're the guys that are going to kind of steer everything in the right direction. And that's why I love restoration so much, is because we're really that starting point. We're that kind of guiding light, moving somebody through whatever they need, whatever problem they may have. So that's why I really love it, to be honest with you.
So talking about sources of issues, and certainly you have to figure out what the source of the issue is so it doesn't happen again. And certainly you talk about different sources of whether it's mold or of course we know fire, that's pretty obvious. But as a homeowner, what are some things that homeowners can do around the house so that it doesn't get to the level where we need to call ready restoration?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of simple things that homeowners can do in general. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but changing out your washing machine lines from rubber and plastic lines or vinyl lines to getting braided lines.
Okay.
Same thing with ice maker lines. A lot of the installers now you see on the Home Depots, Best Buys, things of that nature. You go buy a new appliance, in this case a refrigerator, they want to run a nice, plastic line all the way through, to the water source or whatever it may be. That thing, may get pinched. I mean, you hit it the wrong way, it's going to crack. Because those things become brittle over time. So those are a couple simple things. Keeping your smoke detector batteries up to date.
Okay. Yeah.
It's some of the stuff that people wouldn't think about, though. Sump pumps, right? You buy a house, and you're like, oh yeah, sump pump's working great. Right? You might want to look into a battery backup. Because sump pumps do get overwhelmed, and there's a lot of things that go into sump pumps, not just the hydrostatic water around the house, but if you have French drains, right? If your French drain gets clogged, sump pump, it's not going to go into the sump pump, so it's just going to overflow into the basement. So It's really just kind of the simple maintenance stuff that a lot of people just kind of day by day they don't think about it.
Right.
But if I were to jump on something right now, I'd be changing out, washing machine hose lines.
Okay.
To braided lines. It's going to save, a ton of, damage later on because those are supply lines. So when they do break, they just keep running.
Yeah.
So.
And when you talk about water intrusion into a house, one of the major things that comes up on a home inspection report all the time is getting the water away, whether that's downspout extenders, whether that's grading the land. Those are some things that just people over time just, you don't think about it on a daily basis.
No, and you don't, and you don't really ever. And when I bought my house in 2020, I believe.
That's funny. I don't remember.
It's a long story.
Okay, that's all right. Plenty of agents in our community.
You can ask your next guest. Your next guest.
Okay. Roger that.
So, I walked into the basement and I see dry lock all over the place. So, I started, and dry lock is, for anybody that doesn't know, is basically a water resistant paint to seal in brick and masonry. So, just a big old white paint.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, that's really weird. So, I started walking around and, I noticed signs of, water intrusion from the outside in, and saw a little bit of grading issue and kind of brought that up, but it was something that I knew I could fix, so I wasn't too concerned about it at that time. I mean, you're well aware the market was hot.
Yes.
To trot, so to speak. So
yes, it was.
I lost a lot of houses during that time.
As many did.
And yeah, so I knew it was something that I could fix, so I didn't really want to bring it up. I was just like, okay, got eyes on it, right? But I did want to touch base on that real quick with water coming from the outside in. The reason why I brought that up is a lot of times when you're running into instances where water's coming from the outside of your home inside, it's not covered by insurance. Okay. So it kind of opens up an out-of-pocket expense kind of right off the jump there.
Gotcha.
Which can be very costly, right?
Okay.
Waterproofing inside, I would say average is around $10,000 or some odd dollars, maybe even more for some companies. Outside in waterproofing is even more expensive because you're talking about excavating and drain tile and getting water literally away from the outside of the house.
Right.
So it's that stuff. When you're either purchasing a home, I know we're talking about homeowners now, but you're guiding the interview. So because I was going to take that to the next question, okay.
But let's talk about that. So homeowners, as they're thinking about buying a house and they're looking at homeowners insurance, they're looking at inspections and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you would encourage a new home buyer to look at when they are purchasing a house, looking at insurance and all that?
Yeah.
Did I do a good job of that, by the way?
Yeah,
was that a good question to lead you where you were going?
Yeah, that was perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Because one of the things it's frustrating for me in an industry, right? Because, we are very insurance driven. We do a lot of insurance work, commercial and residential. And the insurance companies are kind of the guys footing the bill, right?
Okay.
So when a new homeowner is going to buy a home, I cannot express enough that you need to be properly insured, right? So in Maryland, we have basements. We also have townhome communities that are listed as condominiums, right? And this is kind of where the agents, everybody during the home buying process really need to come together and kind of understand this. Because we've had 4 or 5 incidences this year where people are underinsured. And what I mean by that is we have basements in Maryland. We get bad summer storms. We get rain. We get kind of everything in it. We get all 4 seasons, right? So when a sump pump fails, there is coverage, a certain coverage inside of your policy specifically for sump pumps. And that policy can be sold, or that rider on that policy can be sold for $2,500. $5,000, $10,000. What I mean by sold is coverage. $10,000, $15,000 are policy limits, right? So when new home buyers are buying these insurance policies, they don't really know what they're looking at, right? They're just like, okay, yeah, I'm insured, great. So when they have a sump pump failure and they call a guy like me and I go, okay, well, let me see your policy. We look over the policy. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Markland, you only have $5,000 in coverage, and that $5,000 includes the mitigation work, right? Cleaning up all this water, drying out your basement.
Yep.
It includes your contents that are now damaged, your sofas and all that good stuff. But it also covers the reconstruction. So when we're talking about adding those three aspects of a claim in, $5,000 is just not nearly
not
enough.
going to include. Yeah. Yep.
And we just had this happen 2 weeks ago. Sewer main or a supply line broke in Parkville. Water came in from the outside of the home. Allstate is covering it, but they only have $5,000 in coverage, and now they have to battle with the city in order to try to get their basement put back together.
Wow.
Whereas if they were properly insured, and let's just say they had policy limits, and we're talking, couple dollars here and there, maybe 20, 30 extra dollars on your premium.
Right.
To have
I think
coverage.
that's what a lot of people think automatically. It's just like, oh my God, if I had to get the maximum amount of coverage, it's going to cost me so much more money.
And what bothers me is that, there's so much. I encourage everyone to get an agent, an insurance agent, as well as an agent of real estate.
Right.
But I encourage everybody to get an insurance agent, right? Because somebody that you can talk to. We had a kid back in December just bought a house, actually right over in Abingdon. Those homes were outfitted with sprinkler systems.
Okay.
Just bought the house, got really cold, hadn't moved in yet. There was nothing in the house yet, but he was the owner. And it got cold, sprinkler line snapped. So continuous line, a lot of water in the house, right? We go through his insurance policy. He went online to get his insurance policy. And this is why I said everybody has to come together, because I feel like it should have been caught.
Yeah.
He was insured under a condo policy and not a townhome policy.
Oh my gosh.
Which I don't know how that's
How that even happened.
Yeah, so he really got the short end of the stick, and I'm talking, a 28-year-old kid that just, bought his first home that, was super excited to move in, and 3 days later, we're in there tearing out his entire home. I mean, we did what we could to take care of him, and he has since been put back together, but he had to kind of forego putting his basement back together because the insurance policy was only going to basically cover a certain portion. So it's super important to me, and I want everybody to know that, making sure that you have the correct insurance policies in play, and the riders need it, to go. Because a lot of times you're going to say, hey, how can I lower my premium by a couple bucks? Well, we can lower this sump pump rider down to $5,000 and you'll save $30. But it's not worth it. That's why we have insurance. So
right, those are all great tips. That's awesome. You've already talked about a couple real life scenarios, and certainly I could speak to one that involved you and your company and coming in. But you talked about keeping people first, which is, in a service-driven business, the most important paramount thing when it comes to the level of service that you're providing, keeping people first, because not only does that affect that person, it's also going to affect future business and your reputation in the business. Is there one story or instance where you really had to go above and beyond to help somebody, and that could be of value to somebody listening to this?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch.
I'm sure there's a whole bunch.
I'm trying to think of one that really hit home. I mean, for me, I don't know necessarily how much people will get out of it, but just knowing, locally that you have somebody that you can trust when something goes wrong. I tell everybody, I'm a tool in your toolbox, right? I got guys for everything and anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a landscaper, I got one. You need a paving guy, I got one.
Yep.
I'm a resource of information, but basically somebody had passed away. They were in the home for a long time. Neighbors found them. Family couldn't get a hold, of anybody, so they called, they Googled, they got us. Family lived in Florida. Basically did everything for them above and beyond while they were in Florida in order to get them into the home to settle their affairs. So, and what I mean by that is, they have to find paperwork, they have to go through this stuff. But in this instance, and not to try to get too graphic, but it was a decomposition-esque job. So
yeah,
the odor is very extreme. It's definitely not a pretty, site to kind of deal with. But like I said, somebody's got to do it, and all of us are willing to do it. And
Yep.
so we were able to basically kind of help this family through this traumatizing time, in order to get them into the home to be able to, settle the affairs for their brother in that case. That's the most recent one for me that, I had so many thanks from, so many different family members, and
Wow.
it was, that one was just kind of special to me that I was able to walk them through that process. And that's probably the hardest thing we have to do as restoration companies or restoration guys in general. So
Sure. To take one would probably say a pretty gross scene job experience, but then put a layer of empathy on top of that.
Absolutely.
Because it is a family member. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's in everything that we do is kind of leading on that empathy. And I tell a lot of customers of mine that when I walk in, bad fires, major floods, I'm like, look, I don't mean to be insensitive here.
Yeah.
I just been doing this a very long time, and I am here for you guys. I will walk you through this every step of the way. You guys hired me for a reason, and I'm going to roll the red carpet out for you guys.
Right.
But I definitely don't want to ever come off to my customers of, hey, oh yeah, just a flood.
Yeah. Right.
Because I've seen it so much, but.
Sure. Yeah. It's common for you, but not very common for other people.
And I think a lot of that times I got to dig deep and kind of get rid of that aspect and
Yeah.
really kind of dive in and sit down with the customers. So.
Well, I alluded to it before, but gosh, it was probably a couple summers ago. We had a seller. They're putting in granite countertops to make their kitchen a little bit more presentable.
Yep.
Granite company came in to do the job. When they detached, they didn't reattach the hose line to the sink the way that they were supposed to. I think the work was done on a Friday. The cleaners were coming in before we were going to get pictures, and they came in like on a Sunday, and the pictures were supposed to be Monday. This house is supposed to be going on the market Friday. And what you know, the cleaner calls me at like 8 a.m. They're like, you have a problem over here. What are you talking about? There is water falling into the basement from the kitchen. And of course, it's like, oh crap. Okay, so Kevin's company came out like right away. I think it was on a Sunday that you guys came out. I mean, it was like literally called you right away. You were there like within an hour or two.
That's a perfect pitch for the business, by the way, because that's our slogan. We're ready when you're not. So
hey, glad I could be here for you. And honestly, I mean, certainly we couldn't go on the market on Friday. It took a little bit of time, but man, you guys got in there. You got everything cleaned up the right way. Got all the drywall. Everything was restored. I think we were delayed 2 weeks.
Yep. I think.
Which, at the sight of the mess that we were dealing with, I thought this was going to be several months.
Yeah.
So big shout out to you guys because you saved those sellers a lot of time. We were able to disclose everything that happened. Had a buyer come in, and it's just a super smooth transaction. But it couldn't have been, without you guys stepping in so fast. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, greatly appreciate.
Yeah,
that.
man. Yeah. A couple more questions before we let you go.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the part of the interview where I really want to kind of dig in as a business owner, because we're probably going through similar things, right?
Absolutely.
How long have you been in the business?
So 2 years in the business, obviously since high school, but Ready Restoration opened September 27th, 2023.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think I'm right on. No, 2022. Sorry.
And you guys just recently opened up a brick and mortar place.
We did. So
what's going on with all that?
The wife's happy.
Okay.
The reason being is I was able to get all that stuff out of my garage.
Shout out to Amanda.
Yeah. So we ran Ready out of basically mine and Ken's garages for 2 years.
Okay.
And, we were like, hey, man, it's time. We gotta get a spot. We got to get out of our garages. So we were shopping around, and then somehow Facebook kind of threw out a ad for local business, Bob McFadden. So Bel Air Roof and Foam owns the building, but
okay,
we just randomly stumbled across it and messaged him and said, hey, can we come take a look? And kind of worked out. We looked at 2 spots, and I really wanted the first one. We settled on the second, but it's great. It's a storefront. Greg Murray, shout out, with Greg Graphics, did the front of the building. I think it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Still got some work to do. We ordered a sign to go up top, so we're still gonna put that up. But
cool.
It's great. I'm happy to be in Hartford County, where the company kind of was basically founded. So
yeah. How many people are you leading right now?
Actually, we're a very small team, so it's 4 of us. So
okay.
We do a lot with a little. And
okay.
It's just all of us know what we're doing, so
yeah.
it makes the life that much easier.
Right.
But in talking business, I think, I'm assuming you're probably gonna ask me what's the hardest thing about,
Just keep on guiding the interview.
Okay, sorry. My
Go ahead, Kevin.
apologies.
No, please. Do I even need to be here? Drew, just let him talk. I'm just kidding.
I think the biggest thing, and you're probably, I don't know how many people are on the Markland Advantage now, but for me, I think it's a lot of it is kind of letting go is the hardest part.
Sure.
I have these expectations and how I do things on a day-to-day basis when we're actually in a client's home. And really just kind of letting go and letting people run with those expectations and, kind of not being there to, not say micromanage, but just to really just trust people, trust new hires as they come on board, to really run with, what I've established.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah. We were talking before we started recording that, before you were kind of running the whole show and only being able to really be successful with 70% of the things that you were working with. And there's maybe 30% that you need to hand off to somebody else that can do a better job at it, that's a better fit for somebody. What are some of the things that you've had to do in the past that somebody's a lot better at doing if you just delegate that out to somebody else?
Yeah, I'll shout out my business partner, Ken Angle.
Yeah.
Just kind of navigating. I'm good with people, right? I know what I'm good at. But navigating the financial world of owning a business is very difficult, in my opinion.
Yep. Same here.
Some people are great at it, and kudos to them. I'm not one of those people. I'm good at growth. I'm good at sales. I'm good at doing things on a day-to-day basis in clients' homes, dealing with customers, insurance companies, all that good stuff. But Ken really took the reins on that. He keeps me in line, keeps me focused. Day to day, every single day, update. Hey, here's where we're at. These bills got to go out. Because we do have a ton of expenses. So for me, that was like the hardest part.
Yeah.
Just staying organized enough to, be able to run a business,
right,
and keep it profitable. So,
right, exactly. And I think sometimes, for me at least, I get caught up in the worry of if I bring somebody on to do this part of the job, that I'm not going to be able to afford it. But yet, you can't afford not to bring that person on.
Absolutely. Without the risk, there's no reward.
For the longest time, I didn't use a transaction coordinator. I did it because I had to do it because I knew it was going to get done. And finally, a mentor of mine, Chris Perry, was like, "You need to get a transaction coordinator." And now we have Liz behind the scenes, and just make sure that the whole process is so smooth because she's involved. Where in the past, especially in the very beginning, there might be something I might have forgotten because I'm juggling 5 different clients. And so it's that she contributes hugely to the experience that the customer or the client that they're receiving, because it allows me to focus on the other things that I need to be focusing on.
Yeah,
and she kicks butt at that. She's awesome at that.
That you're good at, right?
Yeah,
the stuff that that's why we're here, right?
Right.
The Markland Advantage.
That's right. And honestly, there's so many people that are behind the scenes in this whole journey of mine that don't necessarily always get the acknowledgement, but I always try to acknowledge those people in certain ways, whether it's social media posts or whatever. It's like, Drew and his skills of technology. It's like, I could certainly film this with my cell phone, but it's going to look so much better if I get a professional to come in and do
Absolutely.
it. You know, my mom takes care of all the books of the business, the finances. I feel that, like, because when it comes to that, she has everything down to the penny. Like, if it's 1 cent off, she's trying to figure out what that is, and that's her. Like, that's her skill, and she's phenomenal at it. And I'd be broke if I didn't have my mother helping them with the books. You know, my dad preps all the paperwork. It's those things that people don't see that help make this business run efficiently. That if I didn't have them, you know.
Yeah, it's surrounding yourself with good people.
Exactly.
And it seems to me that you're doing the same leap of faith that I'm doing, is just putting trust, right? Putting trust in other people and letting them run with it, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, it's in our industry, there's so much that goes into it, because there's so many different facets of it. But being an expert in all of them is great.
Yeah.
But being able to help somebody new and guide them and kind of let their skill set run loose is just absolutely key to me. It is, and I love it. I'm a big advocate for education in this industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. I love teaching people this industry and getting them to know what exactly we do. So
yeah, that's awesome. In real estate, there's a lot of peaks and valleys.
Same with restoration.
Okay, good. How do you handle that? Like, for me, it sometimes gets emotional. Like, we had a settlement in October. The next one's not until December. But then in December, we at the very end, we have like 3 settlements, and then we have some stuff built up for January, February. But at any time, things could come to a screeching halt, and there's nothing. How do you deal with that to keep yourself sane in this business?
I think for us, it's diversification. I mean, we do restoration work, but we have other skill sets, right? We're demo guys technically.
Okay.
If you really want to break it down, we do a lot of demolition. So, we try to, our peaks are always going to be, hey, there's a hurricane coming up the East Coast. There's
the weather's coming.
Yeah, there's a polar vortex, which, by the way, if you are selling a home, stop turning down the heat. If we see a polar vortex coming down and you set that heat to 50 degrees, you're going to have a pipe break. Mm-hmm. So let's stop turning down the heat. But we get that polar vortex coming in, whatever. We know that's going to be our peaks. The rainy seasons, those are always going to be our peaks. Our valleys, which I think hit our industry very hard this year. I'm good friends with a lot of people in our industry, and a lot of people that rely on my business, inside this industry. If I need customers' contents taken out and dealt with, I use the company that I actually used to work for. The reason why I'm actually in this industry today, Jay Van Duzen, with Rainbow International in Northeastern Maryland. They specialize in contents. I don't do contents. Okay. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So if those guys are slow, we're all slow. So last November, or this past November, middle of October was a really, really bad, valley. But in order to diversify and kind of use our skill sets elsewhere, there's still reconstruction happening. There's still stuff that needs to get torn out. So we kind of market ourselves to do a little bit of that for everybody.
Yeah.
And we got, as a restoration as a whole, as a community locally, everybody pretty much knows each other. It's a small community. So, if I'm overwhelmed, I'm giving work away. I'm trying to help other people.
Yep.
And, it's just, but you do have to ride them. The peaks and valleys are insane. They're probably way worse for you guys than it is for restoration. So
it definitely plays on your mind, though.
Yes,
definitely plays on your mind. You're a family man.
I am.
You got a beautiful wife.
Beautiful wife.
Who is amazing only because she was in my 9th grade PE class and ran track and field at Bel Air High School.
Which we still need a rematch in badminton. So
yeah. Well, sorry I destroyed your emotional well-being there back in high school, as I did with a lot of young kids. There's a handful that did beat us, but badminton champions in Bel Air High School there. Beautiful wife. 2 daughters?
2 daughters. 2 beautiful daughters.
You are a father of 2 girls. Are you going to have any more?
I am done, my friend.
Okay, good.
We are done.
Well done. Good balance. You got that man-to-man instead of a zone defense going on there. We got 3. It's a little bit of challenge. You are
a girl dad as well.
I am a girl dad as well. So being a business owner, you're on all the time, but you still have to be a good husband and you still have to be a good dad. And you're a young guy, what are you about? Late 30s?
34.
34, mid 30s.
As
Okay.
of December 4th.
Let's go. Hey, it's my wife's birthday. How do you make sure that you keep priorities straight with being a father and a husband first, business owner third?
I think the craziest part was when I was working for somebody else, I was so much more ingrained in my work than I was on the family side of things. I started the business when both of my daughters were born. I wanted to start the business a lot earlier. Daughter was born, couldn't, next daughter was born, you push it off and it is what it is. And
right.
You keep, life goes on. But I think for me, being a business owner has actually really helped that. And it's allowed me to have a very flexible schedule. Amanda, was a teacher. I don't say was, but conversation for a different day.
We'll bring her in on another episode.
Yeah. So
fact check everything that's being said here.
Yeah, and she's loving what she's doing now, but it helped me kind of free up my schedule to be the father that I needed to be, the husband that I needed to be, dropping kids off, being able to go to doctor's appointments, being able to go on, field trips and things like that. So to me, being a business owner, that's a blessing to me.
Cool.
That's kind of gifted me that flexibility to be there for my family, be home before dinner time. I mean, when I was working for somebody else, we were on call, right? We're in the field. Daddy would come home, put his work boots on. Guess what? Emergency call came in, putting my work boots back on. I'm going right back out.
Yeah.
So I've really been able to kind of control that narrative of our business, of our emergency service business, to really be flexible. And I surround myself with great people, great employees, great business partner that are all, we all work together to make sure that all of us are putting family first, not just, it's not a saying here at Ready Restoration. It is what, we want you to be with your family.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, when I brought Dan and Adam, who are two agents on our team, to help me leverage time, was a blessing, because before it was just, it was me and my dad at first, and then my dad kind of took a little bit more of a backseat, and he does still help behind the scenes, stuff like that. But when I was able to leverage my time through having, I can't be in two places at one time, and in real estate and in restoration, you are at the beck and call of, like, when somebody needs you, they need you now.
Yep.
But when I have Adam and Dan to help offset those moments where I can't be in two places at one time. Was at a volleyball tournament this past weekend. Buyers needed to get into a house to get some estimates. Dan was available to take them in. So having a team that's behind you is not only helping you be a better husband, father, but it's also helping you be a better agent to your clients, because you're able to be available to them even if you physically aren't the one that's there every single time.
Absolutely.
That's been huge for me.
Yeah. I mean, time is his time, right?
Yeah.
Second gone, you're not getting back. So,
and it goes fast. And they said that all growing up, my daughter's growing up, they said that time's going to fly. And man, it has flown. My youngest is turning 15 in January. My other two, my middle child's turning 21 in a few days. And the other one's 22. And it's like, where did time go, man? Slow down. And the older we get, the faster it goes.
I know. And, now I'm sitting with a 5 and a 3-year-old. And
that's crazy.
Going, man, what happened over the last, 5 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
And they're growing up too quick, too fast. But yeah, and you can't, fortunately, you can't slow it down, right? So
yeah,
if you can manage it, that's the best thing you possibly do. So
okay.
I actually had a question for you. If I can fire that off.
I mean, you've been guiding the interview for this whole time, so you might as well. Go ahead.
Take over.
Host of the new TMA Connection is Kevin McShane. Okay,
pleasure.
Go ahead.
No, I always wanted to ask you, because you made this leap before I ever did.
Yeah.
How was that leap for you from a mental standpoint? Leaving teaching, right?
Yeah.
Which was a career. You're talking benefits, you're talking, paycheck. You knew
yeah.
what your outcome was going to be year in and year out.
Yep.
How was that mentally for you to make that jump?
Scary. Yeah, I mean, it's scary change. I think the biggest thing that I kept thinking about was, if this doesn't work out, I can go back to teaching.
Fair.
Worst case scenario, if this flops, the real estate market tanks, there's going to be other work out there. And even if it's not teaching, there's plenty of work to be had out there.
Absolutely.
So that kind of kept me a little bit more sane. I think running the numbers too, like, when my dad and I got licensed together, it was because we had gotten into a point in education where the school system had frozen salaries for 7 years, and things weren't getting cheaper, and kids were growing, and just had to do something. Couldn't rely on outside sources to be the determining factor. If you want something, you have to go and get it. And then the golden handcuffs of everything, like you were alluding to, is health insurance. Health insurance is huge, and especially in the county school system, it's great coverage.
Yep.
And we've experienced some medical things in our family that we've now had to pay, and it's like, dang, where's that insurance? But when I did the numbers, when I was contemplating leaving teaching, and realized that with the projections, if we made this move, we could probably pay for the health insurance 2 times over and still be okay. Like, it's just doing the numbers, taking the emotion out of it, and making a solid case for yourself, and preparing. I mean, I taught and did real estate for 3 years. The only reason that I could do that was because of my dad. We got licensed together. He took care of everything that was taking place during the day. It got to the point where my last year of teaching, I probably missed like 25 days of school,
Yeah.
And that's what really started generating the thought of, like, in April of 2018, I started looking at everything and just realized, you know what? And I went to my principal at that time, and I said, I think I'm going to take a leap of faith. And he basically said, "What took you so long?" Like, I think more people believed in me than I believed in myself at that point. And there was only one that didn't, who will go nameless. They were like, "You got 16 and a half years in the school system, and you're just going to throw it all away right now." Everybody else was like, "Go for it." And
absolutely, that's awesome.
And it kind of became a personal vendetta against that one person, to be like, I'm going to prove this
absolutely
son of a gun wrong,
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
that's awesome. I love to ask business owners that question, just because I knew what it was like for me, and, very similar feelings. And, it was, at the end of the day, it's, hey, you got to believe in yourself, right?
Right.
You got to bet on yourself.
And I work out every morning for my own mental therapy. Yeah. Because this job's tough.
Yeah.
And if I don't kick that off first thing in the morning, everything else goes to crap that day.
Yeah. I mean, that's where.
But that's where it stems in. And you and our friend Zach were out there at 5 in the morning.
5 in the morning.
Doing your thing at Copper Mine, and I was we have 3 podcasts that we're filming today, so I was like, got to get it in.
Yeah.
Got up early.
Get that mental clarity ready to go. And,
it's so huge in this business.
It
for
is.
me.
It is. And last 2 years I've been a big advocate with working out now. It's just
as your arm show.
Oh yeah.
You big moose. God bless America.
Just putting a lot of time in the gym, man. And and again, being a business owner, it gives me that flexibility. And but I watched a video. It was actually a podcast, but they were just going over, walking through the gym and saying, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" "Oh, I'm a plumber." "How many hours a week do you work?" 80. Next person, and then a guy turns around, pans the camera. If you can't find 30 minutes to get in the gym, it's on you. It's not on anybody else.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So,
well, this has been a great interview. You do great work. I want to acknowledge you for everything that you've grown into be. I mean, I knew you since you were a teenager, and all teenagers are rotten, and you turned out to be pretty daggone decent. Just kidding, not all teenagers. I love teaching. I was
one of the rotten ones. So.
Yeah, as I too was, and some of my old teachers, when they realized that I was now a teacher, they're like, "Are you kidding me?" But you've definitely you've taken a leap. While keeping a good, strong focus on family and healthy marriage with Amanda. I'm sure there's ups and downs. I know everything, and not everything's perfect.
Absolutely.
But certainly, I mean, you guys are raising 2 beautiful kids, and love seeing when you're putting things out on Facebook. Love supporting you and your business. So, if people want to connect with you, whether it be restoration or anything, business related or anything like that, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, they can. Obviously, Facebook's always a good one. Social media, Ready Restoration LLC on Facebook. We're getting ready to get that switched over to MD because that's really what it's registered as now. Facebook for me personally, Kevin McShane.
Okay.
Feel free to add me. Send me a direct message, whatever it is. And yeah, I don't really do too much social media anymore. I pay a guy to do that, but
There you go. So I got DC over there, Drew.
But yeah, anybody, really.
Drew Chavis.
You'll have some of my cards, so if anybody needs to get a hold of
Absolutely.
me, my direct cell phone number's on there. It's,
Yeah.
We are.
And there's been a few, like I can validate the quality of work that you do and the promptness and the professionality that you bring to your business is like we've used you before and we'll continue to use you as well. So
absolutely, I
Amen.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, again, connect with Kevin on Facebook. You can certainly start following us on all different social media platforms because we are on YouTube at The Markland Advantage. We're on Facebook and Instagram at The Markland Advantage. And you got to get on TikTok, brother.
I got to get better at the social media.
Yes, you do. I know a guy. He's to my right over there that can certainly help you out with that stuff too. But
down with Dan the Man.
There you go. Yep. And please follow us there. And if you've thought this has brought you value, please share it out there and help us grow the podcast and the YouTube channel and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And,
I'm excited to see it released, and we're going to do everything we can on our social media side of things to get it out there and get it rocking. So.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Folks, until next time, live your life to the fullest, and we'll see you soon. Take care.